Hi, welcome to the training webinar for this week. I'm Dale Franks, and for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about how to use SQL commands in Process Director. Most of the time, organizations have a bunch of data they need to get into Process Director. Generally, the way they do this is to upload an Excel spreadsheet. That Excel spreadsheet gets imported into Process Director's internal user database, which for most of you, not all of you, there are a couple who are using Oracle, but for the most part, it'll be in SQL Server. So we will be discussing the SQL Server flavor of SQL statements throughout this week and next week as well. And we're actually going to build things in Process Director using these SQL statements. So let's start from the basics and work our way up from there. This is an Excel spreadsheet. This is how you generally get data into Process Director. And this data is, of course, in tabular format. That's the whole point of a spreadsheet. Well, you can think of a database table as kind of like a big spreadsheet, except that you don't do any math in any of the cells. All the cells contain is data. So in a data table, which this is, and this is the data table we'll be using today and next week, in a table, it's divided into two dimensions. Each column in the table is referred to as a field. And a field is just one type of data. It's the same type of data each time. For example, the airport city. That is the city. These are all airports, by the way, that are located around the world. And each one of those airports is located somewhere in a city, or at least near a city, unless, of course, you're referring to Denver's airport. The airport in Denver is conveniently located in neighboring Montana. However, most of the time airports are relatively near a city. So what city are they near? Well, that's what the purpose of the airport city field is. So a field holds one specific type of data. In this case, it's the airport city, and we have a couple of different types of data. Every airport worldwide has a 3-letter code that is assigned to it by whatever international authority assigns airport codes. And each airport generally has a name. They're located in a country, obviously. Those countries are located in regions, and each airport has some elevation above, or in the case of Furnace Creek Airport in California, below, in fact, 210 feet below sea level in whatever city in which they're located. Although I think Furnace Creek could hardly be called a city. Let's call it a settlement, if indeed it even deserves such a grandiose name. So those are what the columns do. So just think of each column as a field. And by the way, for the most part, it's the fields that we will be querying. Each of these fields has a name: airport code, airport name, airport country, airport region. Perhaps I used the word airport too many times, but those are the names of each of these fields. Filling out each of these fields is a record, and that's what we do horizontally. So each record is a unique item or unique instance of an airport. There is only one Furnace Creek Airport, and that may be one too many considering its location, but there is only one Furnace Creek Airport, an aptly named airport, by the way, Furnace Creek. I can't think of a better name for anything in Death Valley, but this is the unique values that go with the Furnace Creek Airport. Now, each one of these records needs a piece of data that uniquely identifies it as the only record that matches that piece of data. Now, in this particular case, It's an ID. Many times, whenever you create a table, the primary key is a unique value that you generate via what is called an auto-numbered primary key. The reason it's called a primary key is because it contains a value that uniquely identifies a single record. If I search by that value, I can only ever return one record, unless the value doesn't exist, in which case I will return no records. So the primary key gives you the one value that we know will return a maximum of one record if we query by it. Now, interestingly, because these are airports, airports already have their own unique airport code. Technically, I don't need an ID in this field because I already have an airport code. Airport codes are unique worldwide. There can't be two airports that have the same airport code. So technically, I don't need this field here. Now, I've used it for a couple of reasons. This is a little technical, and we're not going to get too deep into technical stuff here. We're mainly concerned with the reality of how we can ask for information and get it back in Process Director. And that's largely what we'll be concentrating on, but there are a couple of things that are good to know. One of which is if I have a key like this. Now, as I said earlier, this is an auto-numbered primary key. All that means is that your very first record that you put into the database will be record number 1, and it will count up by 1 automatically every time you enter a new record. So it just automatically creates a brand new record with this auto-numbered primary key, and it just counts from 1 to N, and I forget what N actually is, but it's a very large number, and it uniquely identifies every record. Now, the cool thing about this is it's a number. It is much more efficient to query numbers than it is to query text, because querying text, numbers have a value. And so the computer can very easily find the value of a number or the matching value of a number. If I were to use the airport code as the primary key, which I could because they're all unique, but they're also letters. And that means to match a primary key, if I'm querying the system, I can't just match a numeric value. I actually have to do text comparisons. And that means that whenever I run a query, if let's say I say return, I just want to see the information for Furnace Creek Airport. So return everything where the airport code is DTH. Okay, it can do that. But it is going to have to, and let me see if I can sort this A to Z. So now that I've done that, we're going to have to go all the way down here to the D's. And okay, so here are all of my D's, or here's a large proportion of them anyway. No, I guess this is all of them. So these are all of my D airports. So if I say I want you to return DTH, which is the Furnace Creek Airport, okay, well, it's got to do a bunch of matching. So it's got to look through and say, okay, give me everything that starts with D. Okay, now give me everything that starts with DT. Okay, well, now it's returning 2. Okay, well, now what's the third letter? H. Okay, well, I have DTH, so this must be the record. It has to go through this kind of iterative process of matching each character in the text to figure out what record that it's looking for. Now, obviously, it does this quickly. We probably wouldn't, as humans, notice a lot of difference in the time it takes to return that record, but the computer does. So generally, we have this numeric ID. Now, the trouble with the numeric ID is that while it is an integer and while it can count up to a very high number, and I forget what the top number is, but it's certainly in the tens of thousands. So most of the time, whenever you're pulling an Excel spreadsheet, you don't have tens of thousands of records, and so it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes you do. For example, in Process Director, Well, we can have millions of records in a database table. For example, there is a single table in Process Director. It's called Table Form Data. It stores all of the field data for all of the instances for every form instance that is submitted. So if you have 30 fields on a form that get filled out when the form gets submitted, 30 separate records when you submit that form, just that one form instance are added to table form data. And so obviously if you have thousands of or hundreds of forms, thousands of form instances, and thousands and thousands and however many fields you have on each form, and each one of those instances has to store that number of fields in the form, table form data gets super huge, super quick. There is an alternative way of storing this data. And this, by the way, is how Process Director stores its data. And if we go into, I don't think I can do it from here. So let's look at just any other object. So we'll look at a business value. This is the object ID for this specific business value on this system. Let me come down here and just paste it in. Oh, didn't want to do that. So let's come down here and paste it in so that we can see it. I'm not sure why it went to a second line like that, but there we go. This is the ID inside Process Director for this business value. This is the Airport DD business value, which we'll talk about here in a second. And so its ID in Process Director, its primary key is this long value here. Now, this long value here is called a GUID, and all of the IDs in Process Director are set up using GUIDs. Now, the reason why is we know we're going to have millions of records. We can't use an auto-numbered primary key in Process Director. And if you are pulling data out of some external database, there's a very good chance that those records as their primary key ID will not have that auto number. They will have a GUID like this. Now, that's not a big problem. It is a unique value. In fact, GUIDs are so unique that you can't even transfer them in Process Director. You can't even transfer them between systems, because a GUID is not just a unique number. So if I have, record number 50, if I'm using a numbered primary key like I am here in this table. So if I have, let's say number 11 is AKC, Akron Fulton International Airport. That is record number 11. Okay, that's not a unique value. I can have all sorts of tables that have record number 11. So it's not unique from table to table. GUIDs are. In fact, GUIDs are unique from system to system. In fact, GUIDs are most likely unique in the world. Now, I'm sure that somewhere in the world, there are two computer systems that have a database, and the database uses GUIDs, and there is a possibility that somewhere in the world, there are two, perhaps even three database tables that have this exact GUID in them somewhere on some system. But GUIDs are highly unique. And that's why we use them in Process Director, because the chances of there ever being a repeated GUID anywhere is so vanishingly small. I think if you assigned a GUID to every person on the earth, you would have to assign them 3 different GUIDs before there is a higher probability that you'll get a repeated GUID. So GUIDs are super unique, and you can store millions of records with the GUID, and that's how Process Director does it. So there are times in Process Director where you might query the internal database, like you're looking for a specific form instance. In fact, sometimes in tech support tickets, the engineering team will say, hey, we need you to run some SQL. And of course, if you're a cloud system, we'll do this for you. But if you're an on-premise system, there are times when the engineering team says, hey, we're going to send you some SQL. We want you to run it. And it will contain one of these GUIDs. Like you have a problem with a form instance and we want to return all of the, let's say, conditions that are associated with that form instance. So we'll say, search through table condition set ID where the, parent object ID is, and then they'll give you this GUID. So that's what we're giving you. We're giving this unique value that's a GUID. That's all I'm going to say about GUIDs for right now. Just keep in mind that if there's some sort of technical support issue, you may run across this. You need to understand what the GUID is and how it works. Every object in Process Director, every form, every process timeline, every user, every group, every Active Directory sync profile that you create, everything is assigned a GUID as its primary key in Process Director. So just keep that in mind. We will not be using GUIDs. We are going to keep it a lot easier, and we are just going to use this ID field as our primary key for all of our examples. So we have columns, which specify the field data that we're storing, and then we have rows, which is the unique field data for a single item. In this case, an airport, it might be a person, it might be a form instance, but each item has its own row in that data. Now, most of the time, what we'll do is we'll take this Excel spreadsheet, which is what I've done here, and we'll import it into Process Director. Okay, great. We now have this data. So our problem now becomes, how do I get all the information, if I need all of it, out of this table? How do I get any of the information out of it? And that is where business values come in, and more precisely, SQL business values. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the actual SQL statements themselves, let's take a look at what we have here and what we're doing. In fact, we're going to use this because this has, I think, the newest one here. I think it does. It does. All right, so here's my airport data. So what I've done is I have gotten my airport data out of the system. So I imported my Excel spreadsheet. It created the table for the airports. And so now I have this data list control that lists all of my airports. As you can see, it has 20 per page, and there are many pages of data. And I would have to, of course, find my data here. We're not going to worry about figuring out which airport is which. We're just going to go back up here to the Furnace Creek Airport. And now that I have this list of data, which I have queried for via business value to return it, if I were to click on that airport here, oh, look, all of the data for Furnace Creek Airport now exists down here. So I've had to run another SQL statement whenever I clicked here to pull the SQL data for Furnace Creek Airport into my form so that I can do whatever I need to do with it. In this case, I could update it. So if I wanted to make a change to Furnace Creek here, I could certainly do so, and then I could click my update button, and there would be another SQL statement that would update it, but that's probably something we'll end up talking about next week. Let's talk about getting data out, because that is the most important thing that you're going to do and is the most common thing that you're going to do. Now, the way that I have all of this running is through a couple of business values. Now, I do have another form that we do want to look at, and this is my basic SQL form. So let's run that one too. And I'll show you one more thing because it also is going to require a SQL statement, and that is this airport drop down right here. So if I wanted to, boy, I should have used a type ahead drop down for this, shouldn't I? Let's see if we can go down to, I have apparently fixated on Furnace Creek Airport today. So if I select Furnace Creek Airport from this drop down, then it is going to go back and pull the data with, of course, another SQL statement to grab the data. So all of this works, and I do have airports by country, and I don't exactly know what I'm using that for yet, but these three business values run everything. There's my airport DD, or airport drop-down business value, which pulls just the ID and airport name. I have my all airport data, which grabs everything from the airports table. And then I have my selected airport data. And this selected airport data is what pulls back a single airport from all of my from all of the list of all of the airports that are in that table. So let's talk about how this stuff here, this is our SQL statement. Let's talk about how a SQL statement gets constructed. The basic SQL statement is basically telling SQL select, that is a command that we're giving SQL. That command says, I want you to go into this table and I want you to grab or select the following stuff. And select is always followed by the names of the fields that I want to return. So in this case, I have field name 1, field name 2, and field name 3. So it's just going to return those 3 fields. So if I name the fields, it is only going to return the values for the fields that I named. So if we were to go back and look at our SQL form, our basic SQL form, it's only returning the country, the city, and the elevation for the airport. That is all it is pulling. And so it's just going to pick, select those 3 field names. Now, I do have an alternative way if I want everything. And in fact, I have used that here, and we'll go run back and take a look at it in a second. I can just select everything. Usually we write it like that. This will select all of the data from whatever table I'm looking for. So select gives me the fields, from identifies the table that I want to pull the fields from. As a bare minimum, I need this to make a SQL statement work. Although happily, select star from table name probably get you 75% of everything you need. If you know how that query works, then you're already well ahead of the game. That will always return everything to you. So if were to go back to our advanced SQL form here, and we were to run it, up here in the very top, which is where my data list is, well, I have all of my airport data up here. I have pages and pages and pages of airport data that I'm pulling out of the database. So that is one of the circumstances where I actually do want to use that wildcard asterisk there, which means everything. Just grab everything from table name. So in the case of our particular table, if I go to all airport data and we look at that statement there we go. Select star from SQL airports. That is, by the way, the name of my table, SQL airports. This is going to return every row, or I'm sorry, every column in the table. It's going to return all of the data. Now, obviously, if I'm going to return all of the data, I will probably want to create properties in my business value for each of those database columns, which I have indeed done down here at the bottom. So there are 7 different properties for the 7 different columns in my data table. And this is pulling all of the airport data and is filling up the data table with the entire contents. I'm sorry, it's filling out the data list control on the form with all of the contents of all of that data. So that's the simplest way. And really, there's only 2 things you have to know. If I only want to pull a couple of fields, well, then in my select phrase, I have to name the fields that I want. So in this case, I'm pulling 3 fields. Or if we want to go over here to the airport DD business value, I'm selecting ID and airport name from SQL Airports. Forget about all of this other stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. So this portion here is telling me to grab 2 fields, ID and airport name from SQL Airports. It's a drop-down. It only has 2 possible properties, a value for the drop-down and the display text that I want to display to the user. So I only need to pull 2 fields. But in this case, I would not want to use the select star like I did for my all airports. I only want to pull the data that I actually need. If I pulled select star, it would pull all of those. Well, there would be 5 more fields whose data would all be pulled, but who I am never going to use because I only need 2 properties to fill out a dropdown. So it is inefficient for me to go back and use the select star because the select star is going to return all of that data to me, all of the field data for every single field in every row. And I don't need all of that data. I need 2/7 of that data. And I certainly don't need to pull all of that data across the network down to my form just to fill out a dropdown. So if I was filling out a dropdown, my SQL statement would look like this up here at the top. I just need select field name 1 and select field name 2. That is a basic SQL statement, but there are a couple of wrinkles. Let's go back here to our airport DD. We've got order by here. There are 2 other phrases, where and order by, that are important. Let's talk about order by first, because order by always comes last. So let's say that I have field name 1. In fact, let's change these names. Let's just say my ID field, and up here we'll call it, actually, let me copy and paste down here. Well, no, let me just do this one. ID field. So this is our primary key ID. And we'll call this name field. So let's pretend that we are and usually I do it like this. I'm sorry. I'm very much a bear for all caps. It doesn't matter. I just always do this. And we'll do this. So let's say that we want to pull the data for a drop-down control, just like we've done with our airport DD business value over here. What this tells us, well, it tells us 3 things. So first, it tells us what field we're going to pull. We're going to pull the ID field because that is what we're going to assign as the value of our drop-down control. And then we're going to pull the name field, and the name field will be the display text that our end user sees in the dropdown when the dropdown is filled with our data. And of course, we're pulling it from whatever table we are pulling it from. In our case, it is SQL Airports for all of our examples. Now, if we just did this, it would pull all of the data. But here's the thing. Let's go back and look at our table real quick. I want to point something out. The order in which my table is currently sorted is in the order of the airport code. Your data may not be sorted that way. Most likely in the original table, your data, if it's an auto-numbered primary key, like we were talking about previously, will be stored like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will just count to however many records that you have in your data. For me, it's 857. So I've got 1 through 857. Now, this makes sense because this is the order in which the data was apparently entered into the database. And as it happens, the way that this data was entered into the database was in alphabetical order. So that's cool. I could actually run this SQL statement. And well, if I wanted to show, it's actually this SQL statement. I could, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It is this SQL statement. I could run this SQL statement and my data would show up and it would be ordered by the airport name. And I would be perfectly happy with that. My users would be perfectly happy with that because when they were using the dropdown, everything would be in alphabetical order. And that would be cool. But that is an artifact of how I created this data out of Mockaroo. Mockaroo is a website you can go to and it'll create all kinds of crazy mock data for you. So this is cool, but your airports probably are not going to be sorted that way, or your data is probably not going to be sorted that way. In fact, it may be quite random how it is sorted. For example, notice these airport codes. These airport codes don't necessarily match alphabetically with all of these airports. And so let's say that my data here was sorted by airport code. Well, it goes from B when I'm looking at my dropdown and it pulls the data because all I've done is run this command. I've just grabbed the ID and the airport name. Okay, so this is the sort order that is going to appear in my dropdown whenever users look at it. This will enrage your users because the first item starts with B, Q, L, and now all of a sudden we're in the A's. Oh, except for a K. And now we're back in the A's. Oh, and now we're at a P. But now we're back in the A's. This is not making much sense. We want to make our dropdowns make sense, which means we do need to sort the data so that when our user sees the data, it is sorted in this order so that all the A's are together, all the B's are together. This is just one of those little UI things that you need to do to make life easier for your end users so that they understand the sort order sort of subconsciously when it's in alphabetical order. We're all kind of trained from the time we enter first grade. We're all kind of trained to recognize alphabetical order as the proper order for text, especially in long lists of text. So we need to impose this sort order on our data. And that brings us to the order by field. Now, the order by field always goes last. Whatever other things you have in your SQL statement, the order by is the thing that you're going to do last. So we're going to be sure that we select our field names from our tables, but now we're going to select the order. Now, the way that I have this written, order by, we're going to sort. Name field, so this is the field here that we're going to sort by. So for our purposes, it would be airport name. And then we have two choices, one of which I don't need, which is this one, the ASC choice. We have two ways of sorting when we're sorting by alphabetical order or by numeric order. It doesn't really matter, works the same. We can either sort in ascending order, which is A to Z or 1 to N, or we can sort by descending order, which would be Z to A or infinity back to 1. By default, SQL Server sorts in ascending order. It assumes that that is the vast majority of your use cases. So technically, I don't need that. Technically, this will work and this will sort things in alphabetical order. Now, if I do want to sort in descending order, then I do need that DESC keyword there, which just tells that the sort order is going to be descending. Technically, I don't need the ascending. I always use it. It's just 30 years of working with SQL Server, and I just have workflow habits that I refuse to get away from. So I use the ASC. You don't have to. That is the default sort order. But if you are going to sort descending, you need to tell it to sort descending. So whenever I fill my dropdown here in Process Director with my business value, then what I'm going to need to do is select ID and airport name from SQL Airports, order by airport name. And as I said, I throw that in. That's my deal. You don't need to be bound by that. Just know that if you put it in, you're not hurting anything. And if you're leaving it out, it'll sort ascending anyway. So you're fine. But by doing that, now when I test my query and it returns my airports, it's going to return them all in the appropriate alphabetical order so that my users are not frightened or confused. Most of the time, this is pretty much how you're going to grab a whole bunch of data. If you're going to grab all of the data, you may do it, like this. Select star from table name, order by field, by name field, whatever name field you want, and then, set your ascending or descending order. And again, you don't need to set ascending. It just works automatically. That's just my particular, bugbear. Most of the time, this is what you're going to do. You're going to grab stuff and you're going to sort it. You really do need to sort stuff. The order by is important. It's not an afterthought, because however you are going to list things to your users, whether it's going to be in a dropdown, or whether it's going to be in a data list control, or whether you are filling out an array on a form, you really are going to want to apply a sort order of some type to it so that it is sorted properly. What I probably should have done here in all airport data, and I don't remember whether I did it or not. No, I just kept it SQL, select star from airports. What I should probably do, however, is come down here and go order by, and it is airport name, I believe. I don't think I need to look that up. Airport name, that is my field. And I can't help myself. I have to type the ASC. I don't know why. It's just such a ingrained habit for me now. Well, the reason that I'm going to do that is so that whenever I do open up my advanced form, and this is another UI thing you need to keep in mind, all of my airports are now in alphabetical order. I think they were originally, but I'm not sure. I thought they were, but now they're definitely going to be in alphabetical order. And the reason that I'm doing it this way is because my users are going to look through here and they're going to know some things. I know I've got 854 items in 43 pages. And my first page is A. So let's say I wanted, something in the middle. Let's say I wanted, I don't know what letter M is, A, B, C, D, E, F. So let's say I wanted F. So that is the sixth letter of the alphabet. I've almost reached the max of what I can count. That is the sixth letter in the alphabet. Okay, well, if I got 43 pages and F is the sixth page in the alphabet, and this is all in alphabetical order, if I want to get to the F's real quick, I bet that the F is somewhere around page, let's say 9 or 10. Let's go with 10. And there we go. F starts right there on page 10. By the way, you have no idea the amount of relief I felt when I clicked 10 and I saw Faskrutsfjordthur Airport right there. I hit the F's dead on first try doing this as I go along. How did I do that? Well, I made a little estimation inside my tiny little brain. I got 850 airports, but they're spread off across 43 pages. I am showing 20 per page. So that's somewhat less than 50 pages. If F is the sixth letter of the alphabet, if it was 50 pages, I know it would be somewhere around page 12. Because there are 50 pages, there are 26 letters in the alphabet. So essentially, each letter is taking up 2 pages. Now, that's not fully true. There's not 2 pages, 40 airports that start with Q, I'm sure. But as a general rule of thumb, just knowing that I'm in alphabetical order, knowing how many pages I have, and knowing what letter I'm looking for, that gets me real close to not having to sit here and start from one and go, okay, where are the F's? Well, that's A, and that's A, and that's A. Okay, there are B's, there are more B's, and more B's, and there we can see, and just paging well, not endlessly. I only have to page 10 times, but I have to page 10 times. If I can, knowing that we're in alphabetical order, I can kind of estimate in my head where F is going to be. I click on page 10. It just happened to be right. But let's say I was one letter before or one letter after. I'd only be another click or two from the F's rather than having to click 10 times on my next page to get there. It's one of those little psychological things. Obviously, it doesn't work for all users. Not all users will think the same way that I think. And so they'll have different methods, but it sure is helpful. If I can identify what order my data is in, how much data I have, and in this case, the 43 pages is important, I can now begin to estimate if I'm looking for something specific where I might find it in those 43 pages of data. It might make it a little simpler for me to find that data. That's why the order by field is so important. So that no matter what you're doing in Process Director, you want to try to make things as easy as possible and as intuitive as possible for your users. And alphabetical order is that. It's an easy way for your users to tell what's going on with whatever data it is that you're showing them. In fact, I would argue that what I should probably do if I'm going to present this data list to my users, and it is going to be sorted by airport name, then I would assume that what I need to do, and let's go back to the design view of this form, I'd probably want to go into that data list control and go to the columns tab. Oh no, this is the old. Okay, I like the new version of Process Director a lot better. None of you have it, but it has been really cool just being able to sort columns the way that I want to sort them. I think what I would want to do, what I would have to do, I can't do it here. I can make the ID field invisible, which is cool. I don't think I need the ID field in this data list. Obviously, it's got to be there, but I don't need to show anybody that ID field. So I'd probably turn that off. So I guess coming here was of some use. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close my form. And I'm going to go back to my all airport data business value as soon as it saves. I'm going to go down here to my properties, and I think I want airport name up at the top. So I'm going to move airport name up here above airport code. I'm going to go ahead and save that business value. And I should now be able to go back to my SQL form here to look at my data list control. And that makes a lot more sense. I don't need that ID to display. I mean, it's there. If I click here, it's going to pull, ID for Abraham Gonzalez International Airport, and it is going to throw it in where it's supposed to be. We're all cool with that. I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. But now the very first column is the sorted column. That is the whole point I was trying to get to about this sort order thing. Now, when I look at this, I instinctively know, oh, that is sorted in alphabetical order. Knowing that this is sorted in alphabetical order, it informs the decisions that I'm going to make as I look through this data list to look for other data. So this is probably the premier way that I would want to show that data, all of that airport data, to my end users to make their life a little bit easier. So that's important. Keep that in mind. The next thing we need to talk about is, how do I find specific data? Again, let's go back to my form, and we could use either of these. In fact, let's use this SQL form just for the simplicity of pulling something out of a drop-down without the extra complication of the data list there. Let's just run this form. And of course, we have my drop-down. We talked about that a little bit ago. And when I pick Agnew Airport, wherever that is, apparently it's in Australia, it fills out this data. Okay, so what's happening here? I'm making a selection from a drop-down, which was, by the way, filled from a business value. And when I make my drop-down selection, it's filling out data in these form fields. So it's running a set form data based on the event of picking something from my dropdown. So if I pick that airport, I get that. And if I pick that airport, I get that. So it's pulling the specific data, which, by the way, is the same thing really that I'm doing here on my data list. The data list here is an event control. So if I pick that airport, it is grabbing data for that specific airport. It is looking for ID number 4, and it is pulling every field that has data in it from ID number 4, which is this particular airport, the Abraham Gonzalez International Airport. Okay, same thing is happening. What is happening here in our business value? Well, I'm having to use a where clause. So the basics of a where clause, and let's forget the order by for right now, because most of the time when we have a where clause, we don't care about order, because most of the time we're looking for a specific value. So what I might want to do is, again, I might want to pull all of the data. In fact, I am pulling all of the data on the data list form. I'm pulling all of the data for, as we saw, airport number 4. Well, I can get away, because I need all of the data, I can get away with just going back to using my star. What I can't get away with is how I'm going to grab a single piece of data. Now I've got to use that ID field. It gets a little complex on how we're going to do that. Let me get rid of that, and this will keep, because that's kind of an important special circumstance. So let's talk about how we are most likely going to be grabbing data from a table. So let me go ahead and erase this. Let's keep this convention that I've built here, and we'll use that. And here we'll go with ID field equals 99. So what are we doing with these two statements? Well, these are actually two versions of the exact same operation, but they are slightly different in how we are grabbing data, because sometimes we're looking for text data and sometimes we're looking for numeric data. And the real key is how we tell the system that we are looking for text versus looking for numbers. And the way that we do that is with the single quote character. Anytime that I am using text, I need to set it off with the single quote or the apostrophe, whatever you want to call it. And the text that I'm looking for needs to be inside single quotes. When I'm looking for numbers, I don't care about the single quotes. I am just looking for a number. So whatever that value that I'm looking for is, it doesn't matter. I am looking for that number. I don't need to worry about the quotes. There's a question that the answer would seem obvious, but is in fact not obvious whenever we are dealing with data inside SQL Server. For example, I forget what my extension is or what my direct line is at BP Logic, so I'll just make up a phone number. Now, most of the time, it'll be obvious. If I do this for a phone number, that is clearly a text value. So if I wanted to pull, like a phone number, then I would have to place it inside single quotes. I am not sure why it is giving me that extra line there. Maybe I'm just a bad paster. So this will look for this phone number. In fact, I'm using the equal operator. We'll come back to that in a second. So let's assume we are looking for exact values. So this is the exact thing that I am looking for. Okay, that's obviously text because of the way that it's formatted. However, what if I'm looking for a zip code? 92111. So coastal San Diego. Is that text or is it a number? It certainly looks like a number. It looks like a normal 5-digit number, but it probably isn't because of how we want to sort zip codes. So if I'm looking for a zip code, most likely that zip code is stored in the database as text, which means if I wanted to find a record with that zip code, I would have to do it like that. Now, it's always possible that in some database, the zip code is stored as a number. If it is, then I guess you would have to use this syntax here. But in either case, you need to know whether you are looking at text or a number. There's a general rule, especially whenever you are making your Excel spreadsheet, right? There's a general rule that if I am not going to do math on it, it's not a number. It is text. So if we go back over here and look at my original spreadsheet, my airport elevation uses the BP string keyword. I am not going to be doing math on these numbers, even though technically they are numbers. They are, I don't remember whether it's feet or meters above sea level, but I think it's got to be feet above sea level because I'm pretty sure that there's no airport in Argentina that is 3,957 meters above sea level. So I'm going to assume these are feet. but I'm not really doing math on these. So I am going to make this a string character. So if I wanted to pull the elevation of an airport, then I would need to, and 3,945, I would have to search for that text string. I would not do it this way. So that discrimination between text and numeric searching is very important to keep in mind. We're doing all text searches, so it makes our life a little bit easier whenever we're doing our searches. Now, if I am looking for something by ID, so a few minutes ago, whenever we were looking at the form, we picked airport with an ID number 4. This is going to return a single record and only that record, because I'm using the ID field to return a specific record. Now, that is not true or it's certainly not guaranteed to be true if I use any other field in the table. Well, that's not exactly true in the case of airports. That's a unique value as well, but we'll ignore that for right now. We will assume that outside of this ID field, all of the other values may be repeated. Now, I don't know that they will be repeated, but I have to assume that they will be. So if I only want to return one field, that's why that ID is important, because it's the only field I can depend on to return a max of one record at a time. If I do anything else, it may return multiple records, right? Well, I probably shouldn't have done it there, huh? Let's say I'm searching for somebody's last name. And I say return only the records where the last name equals Smith. If I have a table with 1,000 or so people in it, the likelihood that it will find a record where the last name equals Smith is very high. The likelihood that it will find only one record where the last name is Smith is very low. So I can assume with this example that I am going to return multiple records. Okay, well, if I'm going to return multiple records, that brings us down here. What am I going to do with those multiple records? The same principle that we talked about previously as far as sort order applies here. I am going to want to put this, for the sake of my end users, into some reasonably logical sort order when I pull all of the Smiths. Now, I'm probably not going to sort by last name. If I'm pulling the last name Smith, what I'm probably going to do is do a sort order by first name, right? So I'll get Smith, Alex, Smith, Bob, Smith, Christine, Smith, Donna, and they'll all be, again, in alphabetical order by last name and then by first name. I don't have to worry about alphabetical order for the last name. They're all going to be Smith. So I'm going to see a whole bunch of Smiths. So I'm now going to need to determine, by first name, what the actual sort order is for all of the Smiths that I'm going to return. So if I'm returning a single record like this, I don't care about sort order. There is nothing to sort. It's going to return one record. If I'm returning anything that can have multiple records, then I need a order by. Now, so far, what we have done is we have looked at finding a specific value that matches. We've used the equal sign. That's good for a lot of stuff, but you can also be a lot more loosey-goosey in your searching. So let's go back here and we'll just put Smith in there. So we're going to select field name 1, 2, and 3 from table name, where field name 1 Oh, what are we doing here? We're actually doing two things here that make searching a lot easier and return a lot more matching stuff. I'm using the like operator. The like operator in SQL Server is very similar to the contains operator in Process Director. So whenever you are building a condition in the condition builder, I often tell you use contains for a couple of reasons. Because Process Director and SQL Server have the same sort of operation. Let's demonstrate this with a knowledge view, which I don't actually have. So let's create a knowledge view. New knowledge view. And we'll just call this condition test. And we won't associate anything with it. We'll just go straight. Well, let's do a column here. And let's add, well, we don't have to add a column. We'll just call this column type. And we'll go object information, name, description, object type. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And let's update and run our knowledge view real quick so that we can see what data it returns. It's going to return everything. Okay, so it's returning, well, there's a workflow instance. There's a couple of, I have workflow instances. I mean, I guess I must. But for right now, it's returning a bunch of form instances and workflow instances. Okay, cool. So let's go to our filter tab. And because I'm using type, I got to remember what works here. So let's take our object information, object type, and we'll do two things. In this case, we'll do, actually, I probably should not do that. I should probably use a text value because this is making it too easy for me. So we'll use name. And we're going to leave it blank. So we're going to use name equals, and then we're not going to do anything. We're just going to leave that blank. And I'm going to make this to be able to prompt user when run. Now I'm going to update and run my knowledge view. My knowledge view is empty. Why is it empty? The equals operator, and it doesn't matter whether we're talking about Process Director or whether we are talking about SQL Server, principle is the same. The equal operator's default is to return nothing if it cannot find an exact match. So if I have name equals empty, it's not going to return any records. But if I go back here and I change this to contains, and then I update and run, we're going to see something a little different. We're going to see everything. And the reason we're going to see everything is because contains defaults, if there is nothing in here, to showing me all of my records. So what gets returned is slightly different. And the default of how it gets returned, if no value gets passed, is also different. Like in SQL Server is very similar to contains. It's not exactly a one-to-one correspondence, but you can kind of think about it as a contains operator. It's more of a matching operator, but let's not get too deep into the weeds on on technical stuff that you don't really need to know unless you're just a real DB person. So if I want to just do a loose match and return multiple records that might conceivably match some value I'm looking for, I've got to do a more loosey-goosey search. So I'm going to use the like operator, but I'm going to go even further here, and I want you to notice this. Let's say that I want to find every last name. So last name is like, and then I've got Smith inside these two percent signs. So what the percent signs do is that they stand for any number of characters. In this case, I've placed it before the word Smith. So this will look for any number of characters before the word Smith or the text Smith, and any number of characters after the word Smith. So what this means is that with this setup here, and of course we have our order by, and we'll order by whatever it is that we're ordering by. With this setup here, if I start looking at last names and I'm looking for any number of characters before or any number of characters after Smith, both, then as it looks through my names, it will return names like Naismith, Smith, Smithfield, not Smithfield, Smithfield. So it will return all of these variants because in this case, I have any number of characters before Smith. In this case, well, I have no characters before or after Smith, but that's fine. It found Smith, so we're good to go. And then, well, there's nothing before Smith, but I've got all these characters after Smith, so it's going to find those characters. I can make this a little more precise. Let's say I don't want to find Naismith, but I do want Smith and Smithfield. I want it to start with Smith. Okay, fine. I can get those back with that. And if I do want Naismith, but I don't want Smithfield, then I'm going to do that, and it will have to end with Smith. So I can do a whole bunch of loosey-goosey stuff here to find any data that I want simply by how I use these wildcard characters. I find that between this and this, I pretty much can do 99.9% of the things I need to do with data and business values in Process Director. So with all this in mind, and considering that it's 1108, let's rebuild all of this. So we are going to go to SQL commands, and we are going to create a new folder, and we'll call it webinar. And now I'm going to remake all the forms and stuff that we need to make this stuff work. I am not going to recreate the airport's data source. I don't think there's any reason to do that. But I am going to create the business values that we need. So we will create a new subfolder. We'll call this data. Actually, let's just call it BVs. So these are my business values, all of which will be using the SQL webinar-airports as the data source for the business value, because there's no reason to create that data source again. So we'll go in here and we'll create our first business value. So what's the first thing I need? Well, I'm going to use a data list, since the data list is a control and it allows us to grab all of the data. Actually, we'll do both. we'll do both a data list and a drop down so that we can see both work. So we're going to create our business value that's going to pull all of our airport data. So we'll just call this all data. And we're going to call this, by the way, there is something new coming up. I couldn't demonstrate it Tuesday on the webinar because I didn't have a version of it. I didn't have a version of the product that had it in the UI. But when I have to start picking these, I don't want to call it webinar. I want to call it webinar. We'll call it webinar 20. No, let's call it SQL 2026. There we go. That'll be the where it shows up in the value picker. We're going to make the value picker in choose system variable dialogues box searchable for reasons that will be obvious to you. And that's why I'm spending so much time trying to figure out what I'm going to call this in the group and value picker. It's super important. It's about to be less important because we're going to make this searchable. We're going to make the choose system variable dialog box, the drop down menu, we're going to make that searchable. So that's going to be a huge quality of life improvement, certainly as far as I'm concerned. All right, so we're going to set our data value. So we're just going to use the existing one because it only uses SQL airports. So we're fine there. So we need to pull all of our data, right? So we go with select star from, and obviously we're going to use SQL airports. So select star from SQL airports where, oops, not when, where, no, we don't need a where for this. We're picking everything. We need an order by. I love the new Monaco editor in the product too. It does make making SQL statements a lot easier for you. So we're going to order by airport name. And because I am who I am, oh, A S C. See, you don't even need ASC in there. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to leave it out. We're just going to order by airport name. We are going to query it so we can be sure that it's returning everything in the sort order. See, it works fine, even though I didn't add the ascending in there. As much as it hurted me not to add it, I didn't, and everything worked out just fine. So we've got our airport data. Great. We're going to need everything for this. So we're just going to add columns as properties. It's going to add all of my columns to my business value. I'm done. I have no parameters to add. So we are good to go there. I'm just going to hit OK, and I've got my all airports data. So I can now create my data list on the form. I'm also going to need data for a selected airport. So we'll create a new business value. Business value, there you are, right there. And we will call this selected item. So this will be the item that we select out of our data list. And you know what? I am going to put a drop down on there too, just for general purposes. So we're going to need to fill a drop down. So once again, we're going to go back to our data folder. We're going to grab our SQL webinar data source. And now I am picking a single item. I can just do everything again because I am going to fill all of the fields on that form. So we'll just go with select star from SQL airports. But now we do need our where clause. Where ID equals And here we are going to need a parameter. We are going to make the data list an event field when we create it. And we're going to send the ID over. Now, the ID is a numeric value. It is actually a number. So we're not going to use the single quotes we talked about. We're going to pass this as a number because it is the ID. So I'm going to need to add a parameter. I'm going to create a parameter called ID. So I am going to put in the system variable for the parameter I'm going to use. Earlier I selected airport number 4. Certainly you could hard code an ID, but it will always return airport number 4, which is probably not useful. So the parameter is useful. So we're going to go with the system variable. First thing we got to do is we got to put the $sign in there. That is our SQL encoding character to ensure that whatever value gets passed with that parameter, and however that parameter gets passed, it is going to be rendered SQL safe so that we can't have any sort of weird SQL injection attack onto our SQL server. And it is a parameter, so I'm just going to do parm, and I'm just going to call it ID. And so now I have a parameter that I'm going to pass. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hit update. Incorrect syntax near parm. Select star from SQL airports where parm equals parm ID. I don't know what SQL. I think this is a false error that I'm getting because it doesn't know how to read what parm equals. So it is detecting a validation issue, but I'm not going to worry about that because right now it doesn't know what parm :ID means. At runtime, it will. So I'm not going to worry about that. The important thing is that it didn't give me the horrific error that I might have gotten if I did not include the $sign there to make things SQL safe. You always want to remember that $sign there. Highly, highly recommended. And I am going to add my parameter. I'm going to add my parameter ID down here. And I am just going to put in a test value of 4 because that's the one we've been using apparently. Now that I have a parameter, let's test my query. And again, the validation error I'm going to ignore, and I know I can ignore it because query successful, 1 record's returned. I know that my query was successful and that 1 record was returned because here it is in my SQL test results. So I have got a working business value. Now, what I do need to do is add columns as properties because I'm going to need a set form data to add all of these fields into my form. So at this point, I basically have a working form. And we're going to go ahead and build it. And then we're going to come back and throw a drop-down control into it just to set up our drop-down business value. For now, we're done. Let's create our form. So we'll go back up here to the webinars folder. We will create a new form definition that we will call SQL webinar form. And the first thing we're going to put up here at the top is a data list control. So we're going to drop a data list there. We'll call it data list. Let's actually do the right thing. Let's give it a name. We'll call it airports. And we have to go to its field properties. And because right now we have no columns, parameters aren't going to work. Formatting is useless. We got to figure out what our value is going to be here for this. So we're going to set the default value for our data list. And we're going to go to object information, content item. And then we are going to go back in and pick our all data training webinar, SQL commands, webinar. We'll get to it in a second. BVs, all data. So now I've got my all data set as the default value for my data list. So now that that is set, oh, and by the way, while I'm here, I might as well just click event fields to be sure that this is an event field, so that whenever I click on the checkbox over here, it's actually going to invoke my event, and that event is where I'm going to tie my set form data to. But now I can go back to my data list, and I have a couple of different options here, whether I want it paginated, which I do. So we're going to turn pagination on, and we are going to set our page size to, well, let's set it to 20 again. Let's not take up the whole page. No, you know what? It won't take up the whole page. I just have more to scroll inside the data list. We're going to set it to 50. So it'll be fewer pages. Instead of 43 pages, it'll be closer to 20 or so. I do want to select, because I'm going to select a row here. So I'm going to hit row selection, and I only want to select one row at a time. Because what I'm going to do down here at the bottom is I'm going to put all of the airport stuff in there so that I have them as form fields on the form. My data list really isn't a form field. My data list is showing me the data that I can use to grab a form field. Now, if I had an array, I could certainly set my max rows to some higher number, but I'm only going to pull one airport at a time. So I am going to set my row selection and max rows to 1. So now I'll have a clickable button. I can select a row. That I can only select one row. That will kick off my event. Everything will be cool in my data lists operation. So now I'll go to my columns. I don't really need the ID column visible, so I'm going to turn that off. Airport code is at the top. Made the same mistake I made last time. So we're going to fix that in our business value. So let me save and close my form real quick. And that's, by the way, all I need to do on the data list. So it's a good place to save and close my form. I am going to want to go back to my all data business value. And I am going to want to move airport name up above airport code so that my first column is ordered alphabetically the way that I want. So I think we're fine there. So let's go back to our form. And while we're here, let's just do a quick test. So we will hit save and test form to run it, which is probably what I should have done before I went over and changed the business value, but that's fine. We're back here. Great. There is my stuff. I can select a row. Can I select another row? No, I cannot. I must deselect this row to select a different row. Okay, working exactly the way I want. We are good so far. Now we have to build out what's going to happen when we actually do select a row in the real world. I can't seem to find my cursor. There we go. I meant to hit. Okay, why do I keep hitting? I keep hitting the wrong stuff. I'm sorry. This is all on me. Backspace. Enter. There we go. That's what I want to do. And this section down here, let me throw in a section. And we'll call it section data, and we'll have data to edit. There we go. And now we can throw our fields in here. I'm just going to cowboy our way through this. We're going to go with ID, and we'll create a text field, and we're going to name it ID. And then airport. Oh, come on. I am just airport name. I am just incapable of typing when I'm standing up and also talking and trying to look around my microphone to see what's going on. We're going to call this airport name. and airport code. And we'll call it airport code. We got plenty of time. I might as well do all 7 fields. I was thinking about making life a little easier, but we're going to do airport name, airport code, country, region, city. I can't believe I'm remembering all of these without having to go look it all up. City and elevation. Well, and we'll call this elevation. Well, I keep hitting caps lock or not turning caps lock off. What sport you must make of my typing incompetence after each webinar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is all 7 fields. So now we can fill them all out with a set form data action that runs off of the airport's event. So we will save and close our form. And when we get back to the form definition, we will then go to the set form data tab. And our event is our drop down, or is our data list. So airports row selection, airports is our data list. Row selection is our event. We will add our action and we will set the ID field to, and this, by the way, is what is going to become searchable. However, I don't think I did this on the second business value. Oh no. Okay. Let me get back to the business value. Let's hit OK on the form. Let's save it for right now. There's our selected item. Go back over here. We did not do it. So SQL 2026. So we'll save it again. And we're looking for our selected item business value. Let's go to our SQL webinar form and try this again. Oh, it's already open. Business values. And now we're looking for SQL 2026 selected item. And the selected item is going to be the ID. And we need our parameter. And our parameter is going to be our data list value, form data list, airports ID. By the way, just notice this is a little bit different because we're using the data list, which is a new control. So we haven't done a lot of stuff with the data list in the training webinars. When you are using the choose system variable dialog box, if there is a data list form on the, or data list control on the form, when you go to form, you're not going to go to form field. there's going to be a new menu for form data list, and it's going to show you all of the data list controls on your form. In my case, we have one. That's our airports data list. And then we see all of the fields that we have access to. So in this case, we are setting up the ID field. So we're going to use the ID field from the airports data list. So just keep in mind that if you want to use the data list, you're going to go to form and it's going to have this brand new item, form data list at the bottom, so that you can go and grab the data out of your data list control and set that. In this case, we want the ID because that is going to be the parameter. Whenever we select the airport in the data list, we're going to want to send that ID parameter to the selected item business value so that it can return the data for only the record that we pass to it. And in this case, it's going to be the ID. We are passing the ID from the data list there, but we're also going to want to see that ID in a form field. So we are going to pull it back. Actually, in the real world, I would not make the ID field editable on a form. It is on this one, but as we'll see next week, making the ID form editable opens up an entire can of worms if you want to make any changes to your data. And you're going to want to be super, super careful. So for today, this is perfectly safe what we're about to do. Next week, it will become far less safe and we'll have to exercise a little more caution on how we set up our form. For now, though, we are going to update our form definition. The reason we're going to update our form definition is that we're using a business value to pull our data. When I update the form, it is going to take that business value and place it in its own little section on set form data that already is configured to pass the ID back to the business value. It already knows that we're working with a business value. Now I just have to hit add form field 6 more times to identify the other 6 fields that it will be returning. So we've got airport code, and we want to return airport code. We have airport name, which will be the airport name. What the city, which is going to be the airport city. The country, which is going to be the airport country. The region, airport region, and then finally elevation, which will be airport elevation. And we will hit update to update our form, save all of our changes. Indeed. Let's go ahead and hit update and test. And okay, we've got the form field name is not valid. It contains reserved words. I cannot use ID as a form field name. I've done a bad thing. This field needs to be airport ID, which is not going to be a reserved name. ID, bad, because that's a SQL Server violation. Can't name fields ID in SQL Server. Okay, so we're going to save this now that it's called airport ID. And let's go back to my form controls. So let's delete that bad ID field on the form, or control on the form, because now I have airport ID. Let's update. Let's go back to set form data. And we are going to have to change this to airport ID instead of ID. And now, once again, let's update and test our form. So I'm going to expect to be able to hit an airport, or select an airport here, and then to see all that airport information down here. And that is, in fact, what happens. And if I want to change it, I need to uncheck that airport and pick another airport. Oh, by the way, something else that happens, didn't have to configure it, just happens automatically. If I uncheck an airport, I want you to look at what happens down here. I uncheck this airport, it empties all of my fields. Why does it do that? Well, because it is passing an ID of null back to the business value. The business value thus returns nothing but null values whenever my business value runs, whenever I click on the data list control. So essentially, it automatically, just because the value is null and there is a set form data, then it is automatically going to delete everything out of the field, or more precisely, it's going to replace the existing value in the field with null. And if I click another airport, it returns data. It will refill the field with that airport, which again, if I uncheck, it will just clear out all of my data. Okay, that seems pretty cool. So let's go back to our form and we're going to make one more little change here. Whatever it wants me to do, we're going to update. We're going to go back to our form. We're actually going to make a couple changes. We're going to come here and we're going to get these fields aligned properly here. And here, I think, is where I need it again. And let me test the field. I alternated between enter and shift enter on my form fields. And so I just wanted to ensure that the vertical spacing was back to the way it should be. Okay, so we're going to make some changes. So the very top is we're going to say set data via the data list, and we'll make that heading 1, set data via the data list, and then we'll come down to this space right here. Up. There we go. Or do it from a drop down. And what we're going to do is we are going to put a drop down control here. We're going to call it airport selector. And we'll throw a drop down there, which we will in fact call airport selector. And we'll use autocomplete. That's fine, I think. Allow events to fire on selection change. I hope this works here. We're going to set this as an event field, and that should be good for us now. We're going to save and close our form. So I hope I've configured it right there, because we need to actually get the data that we need in there. So we're going to need a third business value. And we're going to call this business value fill dropdown. And we're going to hit OK there. And again, we're going to call this SQL 2026 update, so that we save that group and value picker property. And now we have to make our data source again. So once again, we are going to pick the existing one. And now we can write our query. And I only need 2 things. Is that field actually called ID? What was that field name? It is called ID. Okay. So select ID. Airport name. Airport, not Sirport. AIR. Okay. Airport name. Boy, ID is a really bad field name. That is on me completely. From SQL Airports, order by airport name. And that should give me my airports. Let's test our query. That got me my value, all 856 returned. And ooh, ID. That is very bad. Here's what we're going to have to do to make this work. SQL Airports ID. This is all my fault. I already had ID there. I didn't need to pick that. ID is bad. It is a reserved keyword in SQL Server. So by naming that field ID, I did a horrible thing. It's causing all kinds of problems. What I need to pull is SQL Airports ID and airport name from SQL Airports. So let me test my query again. Okay, it is. Oh, my data is already sorted this way, so most of this should be fine. Okay, well, I was getting confused by seeing it in alphabetical order and the ID's right, but I think that was how I entered it in. I think I even mentioned that earlier. So we can add our columns as properties. We only need 2 columns. So that will add our ID and our airport name. And we don't even need a parameter here because all we are doing is filling a dropdown. So we only need those 2 fields to fill the dropdown. So we will hit OK here, and we will go back to our SQL webinar form and go to our Fill Dropdowns tab. And in this case, our dropdown will be our airport selector, and we will fill it with our business values, SQL 2026 fill dropdown. And for our empty text, we'll obviously do our select 1, and then our display text will be the airport name. Our property will be the ID for the value, and we should be good to go there. And let's update. I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to check to see whether or not I made the airport selector a event field. I did make it an event field, so we are good to go. So we'll just go back to our set form data. And now I have an event called airport selector, which we will add an action. And we're just basically going to do the same thing that we did before, where we're going to set the airport ID to our business value. Now I don't have to make another selected item business value, because this business value will work with whatever item we select, except I will this time, instead of using the data list, I will have to use form field, because this time I'm going to pass the value of airport selector, which again will be the ID, back to our business value. And I can update and then add my 3, 4, 5, 6 additional fields. So airport code, nope. Airport ID is that. Airport code is that. And then airport code, airport name, city, airport city. All right, Wish it would scroll down further. Country, airport, country, elevation, airport elevation, and region. That was what I was missing, and airport region. And that should be good to go there. We will once again update and test our form. Now it should work no matter what we pick. So if we wanted to go with Furnace Creek Airport, it should fill out our Furnace Creek Airport stuff. And if we wanted to, is there an Abu Dhabi? Well, no, but there's Labuan. So we'll just use that one, Labuan Airport. And there we go. It does everything that we wanted. Oh, what if we want Agnew Airport from up here at the top? Oh, well, we can do that and it will clear out. And what happens if we clear this out? I don't think it clears. I don't remember whether it clears it out or not. Oh, here we go. RAF. Let's see what RAF bases they have. RAF Wildenrot. That is around my old stomping grounds from my days being stationed at headquarters, Allied Forces Central Europe. So if I turn off RAF Wildenrot, oh, it clears it out as well. It runs it. So even when you clear out your value in your dropdown, it clears it out. But we're working. We have a working data list. We have a working dropdown. Great. We can grab data from our database. We can select specific data from our database, and we can throw it into our array here. Well, that, I think, is all that we need to do for today because it is less than 15 minutes to 12. So this is a good stopping point for us. And next week, when we come back, we will talk about updating and inserting and deleting records via SQL using Process Director and the appropriate SQL commands. Have a great week. We will look forward to talking to you again next week. I'll see you then. So long.